Moana 2 ended with a very dramatic scene of Maui trying to pull up the mountain island from the bottom of the sea with his magical fish hook, so much so that the hook lit up blue and he lost all of his tattoos. Then Moana came to save the day, but unfortunately she ended up dying at the bottom of the ocean. But thankfully the ancestors came to save her and they lit her oar up with yellow and gave her some tattoos on her arm, and she came back to life, with Maui getting his tattoos back as well and pulling up the island from the bottom of the ocean to the surface and saving the day. However, in Moana being saved by the ancestors and getting these tattoos and her all lighting up yellow, does that mean that she is now a demigod or demigoddess? And if so, what on earth are her powers going to be? Well, today we're going to work out what those powers are, but before we go any further, please make sure that you've clicked that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on. Just like how Maui's powers come from his magical fish hook that allow him to transform into any earth animal like a bird or a shark or a bug, I believe that Moana's oar will do the same, and that Moana will not necessarily have any powers just by herself. When Maui does not have his hook, he doesn't have any shape-shifting abilities, only his tattoo, who acts sort of like his alter ego. In fact, the entire subplot of the first film is Maui trying to find his magical fish hook in order so that he can use his powers and shapeshift, as without it they would have never been able to defeat Te Kā and restore the heart of Te Fiti. I mean, ironically, also without his hook the heart of Te Fiti would have never been stolen in the first place, but let's not worry too much about that. Because of this, it seems like Moana's powers will come from her oar in Moana 3 that will light up yellow whenever she wants to use the powers. But what will those powers be? Because I don't think it will be shapeshifting like Maui, because we already have that. The simple thing would be it's an oar, so clearly it controls the water. However, Moana basically already has that power and she already has control over the water, because in Moana's universe the ocean is a sentient being. And the ocean chose Moana in the first film, and so she already kind of has that power without actually having that power. And we know this is her main power because when Moana returned in Ralph Breaks the Internet, when all of the princesses are trying to save Ralph from falling to his death, what power does Moana use to help save Ralph? None other than the ocean. So she already controls the water, so I think it will be a brand new power for this third film. So what else might the oar do? In fact, I think it will be the complete opposite of anything to do with the ocean. Now, the only reason why Moana goes on this quest in Moana 2 is not actually because of the ocean, but actually because of the sky and the stars. She sees the direction of where to go and find Motu Fetu from a meteorite seen in the sky from the ancestors. And throughout the film, we see her using the stars in order to navigate where she needs to go, in order to find her way back home whenever she's on the ocean. And so I do reckon we might see some sort of power related to the sky and the stars, and then we could also see Moana maybe controlling the sky and the sea at the same time. I mean, that definitely does sound like the power of a demigod. But we also have to think of the post-credit scene at the end of Moana 2, where we saw the god Nalo seeking out revenge for Moana and Maui, who brought back the humans from different islands to finally come together again for the first time. And so I do think her power will actually have something to do with that as well. And I think we've already got a glimpse of that throughout this film. The only reason Moana was able to save the day in Moana 2 is because of the ancestors, but specifically the wayfinder ancestors. Like the first wayfinder of Motunui, who first tried to quest to Motu Fetu, and like her grandma, who was a wayfinder protecting the heart of Te Fiti in the first film. And we know wayfinders have their own animal. Moana is now the ultimate wayfinder now, as she did manage to actually succeed in her quest, whereas the other wayfinders had never managed to do that before. And interestingly, her tattoo that she has gotten just so happens to look identical to the map of Motu Fetu, having strands off to all of its different islands with all of these different people. And similar to how Maui's tattoo relates to his power of shapeshifting, I believe this means that Moana's new power will have something to do with her Wayfinder title and her being able to bring people from all of these different islands to come together. Because at the end of the film, she does manage to bring all of these different tribes to Motunui. maybe she was using her new demi-goddess power in that. So maybe her oar gives her the power of the true wayfinder, where she is able to communicate and navigate the land and the sea with the power of the stars, and is able to call on the wayfinder ancestors whenever she needs help. How do they do that? Well, that is up to Disney, but like how Maui transforms when he has his hook and then his hook disappears, I believe Moana could potentially do a similar thing with her oar, where she uses the oar and transforms and her oar disappears, and maybe she even transforms into sort of this ghostly wayfinder ancestor vibe that we've already seen happening. Maybe she becomes invincible during it as well. I think that would be a really cool power. And so I reckon that is what Moana's new power as a demigod will be. How she'll use that oar, and that'll transform her into the true ultimate wayfinder, and that will be definitely a good challenge against the god Nalo in Moana 3. But what do you guys think about this? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Did you enjoy Moana 2, and what do you think Moana's new power as a demigod will be? Do you think she is a demigod, or do you reckon that was just a weird thing that happened at the end of the film? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments, and as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.